So yesterday I kind of got off on a tangent when I was doing a video. I didn't go over the time magnitude thing that is relevant of why staying alive indefinitely is important. And like, it gives you a different frame of reference of a lot of things. Because when you're told how long something takes, when you're told a history of who you are, or a history of the world, or a history of humanity, you're like, okay, you take it for face value because you were never there. You can only trust those that have been keeping records. And even then, those who've been keeping records may or may not have an agenda. And I mean, it sucks to be paranoid and live in the world of conspiracy. But unless you experience it yourself, and unless you've been around since the time of whatever, and then you're watching the mainstream put something out that's completely opposite, you're not going to really know what is truth, what is fact, what anything is. And so that's the kind of the crazy thing about time and scales of time and time orders of magnitude. And that's a harder concept. That's an abstract concept that is definitely, I mean, even I have a hard time grasping it. But the reason why I have a hard time grasping it, but not really, is because since I was in around, even 500 years ago to understand what went on back then, 500 years ago, then it's just like, okay, well, I can only trust what someone has written. And that's the thing, is that we don't want to trust what someone has written. Only certain things that relate to us today, right now, okay? And so this thing with the JJ mentality, when you feel the pain of evolution, when you feel the viruses, when you feel what food can do for you, when you watch your body morph into different things because you're allowing the evolution to take place, you understand the laws of physics. And these are all the laws of physics, and everything that I talk about is something that is that you can grasp in your world. That not only can you study, just understand the laws of something, but it is completely relatable when let's say you learn about the laws of motion. For every action, equal opposite reaction. Force equals matter times acceleration. What's at rest stays at rest, what's in motion stays in motion. Well, yeah, you can always do those experiment type of things in your home. You don't have to trust somebody else to say, okay, this is what's supposed to be. You can do those things in your home, and it's completely relatable. Now, when it comes to the human history, what happened 300 or 400 years ago? Well, now you got to trust somebody else's take on it. And even if someone, yeah, you got to trust the books that were written during that time. It's like, and that's where the faith and the hope and all the belief and the religions and the politics and the science, that's where they can take history and spin it to what they want to reflect today. And so why I say to stay alive indefinitely? Because you need a basis, a frame of reference to work with. Frame of reference is based upon the frames of reference that somebody else either offered to you through a book because you weren't there, or you've experienced something, so that's your frame of reference, or you witnessed something. You watch somebody go through something, you have a frame of reference of what it's like to suffer in hospice. I have a frame of reference of when I went to visit someone in the hospital that was basically passed away, but they didn't take them off the machine, so the machine was breathing for them. And I'm just like, it really just shocked the hell out of me. It really just completely like moved me, and it changed me that day. And so now I have a frame of reference of what it's like to die, and I don't ever want to end up in that situation. But if someone has never seen somebody in a hospital that is kept alive on a breathing machine, where you can see the breathing wasn't natural, it was through a machine, okay? You will never know and have any relationship to what it's like to die because you don't have a frame of reference to work from, And so your frame of reference of dying is stuff you see on TV, and you still don't have a relationship because TV isn't real, right? The movies aren't real to some people. And so not having an accurate frame of reference is what has plagued humanity, who dies and reproduces every less than 100 years, if they're lucky to get to 100 years. And so when you do the JJ mentality, you're not only going to witness the evolution within you, but you might see that evolution can happen within 20 years. And what does that mean? Evolution can happen? Well, maybe, you're obese, or you have a lot of issues, and you have a somewhat busy life, and so you have to scale, or you have to parcel out time to heal and recover, and also do what you have to do with your duties and stuff. And so, you may have like a slew of symptoms and a slew of diagnosable conditions that are going to be, that will happen in layers. And you might have a few of them that happen for a few months, a couple years, who knows? And so the time that it will take you to evolve, okay, will be that frame of reference. But when you look at the compilation of humanity as a whole, that takes something on like the Jilly Juice mentality, and they change your lifestyle and belief systems, then you can get more of like an average of a person who is in the West. If they were to really devote their time to it and change their life and all that stuff, the average for the human to evolve would be like maybe 20 years. Let's just pretend, okay, as an example. And so yeah, people don't have any relationship to the JJ mentality because they won't even do it. You know how many people have mocked the JJ mentality, have talked smack about it, and yet they have never even taken a drop of it, a lick of it. They haven't even made it. Okay? And so they're basing their frame of reference of what the JJ mentality is off of something they read on academia. And so, yeah, so when we have a certain relationship to history, or we have a viewpoint of history, where do we learn it? What's our frame of reference? Well, of course, it's academia. It's our classroom or school, our teachers, maybe our parents. If they were living during a time in history that we learned in school, they will give us their take on it. And then when people die that were around during those times, and now we have the digital age where, books, yes, books can be out there, but books have been censored. They're taking away certain books out there. Okay. Not saying that it's good or bad. And I'm not saying that people are erasing history when they're censoring stuff, because everybody has a perspective. Why are they taking away one perspective? It just depends on the intention. Do they want someone to read it and think it's going to happen again, or someone to then start a discrimination campaign? If so, there's no way to really know what the intent is and what the outcome is. Okay? And so, because we also know that when people read stuff without an accurate frame of reference of stuff, without a way to filter things in a logical, without discernment, when someone reads stuff without discernment, then you never know how someone's going to react to the information and what they're going to do with the information. So that's also another part that I'm sure certain people think about. Okay, so anyways, so what do we base our frame of reference from? We either experience it ourselves, witness a proportional or unproportional magnitude in context, or somebody tells us. And that's why you cannot rely on somebody telling you what the JJ is. You can't rely on, I give you enough information to then say, okay, I've substantiated in academia, in science, in physics, in biology, in almost everything. The FDA approved every single ingredient. It's probiotic. That's enough. I don't need to sell it. I just need to give you the basics that even the Ohio Attorney General, even, and the food lab, they're fine. They're not endorsing it, but they are saying it's within the legal limits. As long as I'm not advertising it as a cure, because it's not a cure, then it's just a fermented drink that I drink to give me nutrition. Okay? And so then you then have to then go and do it and get a basis to work from, a frame of reference to work from, to understand what's going on. And so our society and our world that is being scaled down, okay, from 7 billion to 500 million, most people are artificial intelligence. They're gain of function, because every single therapeutic they take in their body, it's not a bad thing, but gain of function is an experimentation with virology to then program a body to do a specific thing. And all gain of function that is used to mitigate evolution, mitigate any type of potential evolution that the person doesn't want to feel or potentially couldn't survive from, that's a temporary thing, and it's artificial intelligence, because you're seeing the term artificial intelligence being used here and there. And what does that mean? What's the distinction between artificial intelligence and intelligence? Well, artificial intelligence is given. Why is it given? Because it's prepackaged, ready-made. You just open up the package, take it out, and do something, and then you administer it to yourself. It's administered. Versus a gain of function that's naturally earned. And it's not, and it can be painful. Yes, it's when you're out there in the environment exposed to someone who has been gain of function. You get the information from them, you deal with it, you feed it, you do whatever. You're not trying to stop it. You're not taking your remedies. And so when you are around people who have been gain of function upgraded through artificial means, you now have the opportunity to do the same thing they're doing and stopping the evolution, or trying to stop it, or you go and evolve and upgrade to the level of the person you were just exposed to. And so that's also a distinction that needs to be made, because a lot of people are gain of functioned with artificial intelligence and they believe they should pass away someday. And so it's like a self-destruct, self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you almost need to characterize them as like robots. Easily programmed, easily triggered. Obviously, they're emotional and fearful of anything that they have never experienced before. And so then rely on their puppeteer, which is the government, to then give them what they think they need. And so, yeah, we have a split in the population of those that are waking up from that whole holy shit. But even the ones that are waking up to whatever's going on in humanity are still falling into, I don't want to feel pain, I have to go use these remedies, even though I don't want to go to the pharmaceuticals, I want to go to the holistic. It's still, they're not trying to deal with evolution. They're not trying to actually evolve in the manner that they need to evolve, because they still expect to pass away. And so the frame of reference that the Julie Juice mentality aims to, I guess, develop is the fact that evolution doesn't have to take that long. Now, did things happen? Like when you think about, people said like the Bible, that Earth was created and all the people and all the animals and everything else was created 6,000 years ago. 7,000, 10,000. And people don't believe that, oh yeah, you know, we were around 50 million years ago. People don't believe in the Cretaceous, the prehistoric. I mean, everything that was taught in school, people are like completely just throwing it away and don't want to believe it. And I'm not ready to do that, okay? Because it's about working with scales of time, orders of magnitude, time orders of magnitude that makes sense, okay? And so even if the dinosaurs were around, let's say 100,000 years ago, what would be the difference between 100,000 and 50 million? What would be the difference? What would it really change things in the long run or the short run? let's say all humans came to this earth and were brought here to go and fill up cities that were ready made for us, 10,000 years ago. Or not even that. Let's say, 300 years ago, 400 years ago. I mean, it's like, doesn't even matter because you are here today. Now we have the opportunity to not rely on somebody else's rendition, depiction of history. That even photos, like I was watching a video today that a photo of like Moscow, Russia had like nobody in it. And it was, when they measured the shadows of the trees, and it looked like it was in the middle of the day, and there was nobody in the photo. It was just a picture of Moscow with nobody in it. Now, they didn't have back then ways to go and doctor for, or maybe they did, but why would they? Why would they go and doctor a photo to take every single person out? That would kind of look crazy. What would the point be? What would the point be? Okay, so this photo, and so someone was trying to explain that this photo is showing that the infrastructure was built first, and then they brought in the people, the orphan trains, whatever. I'm like, okay, I could see, let me tell you, if I wasn't there 300 or 400 years ago, there is no way I would know where the people came from, who did what, when, and where. All I know is that, we only have people living on this earth that were the silent generation, in the 19-somethings. Those are the people that are still living today that we know about. And they barely are even surviving. They're like in their 90s, 100s, whatever. Okay? And so there's no way to know what happened in 1700, like, for sure. We just know what was written, what photographs were out there, and paintings and all that. Okay? And so, but that, to entertain that I need to throw away everything that I've ever learned doesn't make sense, because it is a paradigm, it's a background to work from that will shift and fall away as we develop a new future, a new time magnitude frame of reference. And that's why staying alive indefinitely and understanding the reason, the importance of not passing away is so now you can get an accurate frame of reference of how long it takes to evolve, how long it takes to innovate with the foundation of information that we've acquired for the last however many years, and we can enjoy whatever we learned about as far as giants and stuff in Fantasia, the dinosaurs, the Pegasuses. We might see these animals again in the future if you're around long enough. Okay, I mean, the movies are kind of give us enough predictive programming. And so that's that right there. If you have anything that you can take away from the JJ mentality of me talking about it, you not doing me talking about it, is the fact that you will be developing history on a continuous basis, and you won't be relying on someone else to tell you what happened during that time that you were around. That someone, yes, that we have different viewpoints on 9/11. Everybody has different viewpoints. Some people think this is what happened. People think this would happen. Does it really matter? It happened. And now we just know that there's two schools of thought around 9/11, but we still modify and still be careful moving around in this world during what we see as the fall of society, if that's what you believe in on that end, or that, there's a major terraforming in body, mind, and spirit, and to watch for indicators for inclement weather and people imploding. Okay, so either way, I mean, you're going to have to be careful. We're moving through our society. You're going to have to modify your movements based upon what you've seen and what you've heard and what you're experiencing right now, regardless of how you think it came to be. You still have to be even more careful now, because viruses do cause people to be a little bit cattywampus. Okay? And so really that's important to know about staying alive, is that you can now witness history and experience it without somebody telling you. And it means you got to live longer than 100. Okay, I mean, I'm watching stuff on my Facebook, and then I'm watching TV, and everyone who's like in Generation X is like, oh, I'm feeling painful. Oh, I feel this. I'm so old. And 48, 47, 46, 49, 50, that is, you're a spring freaking chicken. If you think 50 is really old, you think 60 is old or 70 is old? No, that's actually really freaking young. There are supposedly, you know, creatures of the Bible, humans of the Bible, okay, like Moses and Noah and other people and Methuselah and all that. They were more than 100, maybe they were 900. I can see it. If they had a, you know, an environment that wasn't aggressive, and they had an infrastructure that was supporting their longevity. So 900 is really nothing if you have the system to support it, if you have the will to live and you have the support system. My dog has the will to live. If something ever happened to me and that she has to be in somebody else's hands that's not doing the J juice, she would die, because that person will allow my dog to die because they wouldn't know what to do. Because as soon as she feels something from a new virus, they're going to put her on drugs. They're going to put her on some whatever stuff. Because people don't understand pain. They don't understand symptoms. They don't understand evolving to a new viral environment. And so, yeah, my dog would not survive in anyone else's care but my own, or anyone else that's on the JJ that understands. And not many people understand the JJ mentality, because they haven't even contemplated that they can develop a new frame of reference, that they don't have to buy somebody else's frame of reference. And that's what goes on. People are buying other people's frame of reference without really exploring why that frame of reference exists to begin with. And what is frame of reference, so we have an understanding, is a set of criteria or stated values in relation to which measurements or judgments can be made. The observer interprets what he sees in terms of his own cultural frame of reference. A system of geometric axes in relation to which measurements of size, position, or motion can be made. Frame, plural, noun, frames, noun, reference, frame, plural, noun, reference, frames. Okay, so framing is your biases. It is the paradigms. It is everything that you use to measure what is good, what is bad, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And it's not something people really experience, or not, they can experience it, but they don't develop their own frame of reference, because they can't develop their own frame unless they have something else to position it against. But what happens is people will take something that someone else has said, use that frame of reference, and that's where they stop. That's where they stop. And so that's what's dangerous about buying somebody else's frame of reference, is that you don't then develop your own. And so, yeah. And so anyway, so that's, you know, the main takeaway of today, which is actually really good, because watching that video about the frame of reference of time and those photos, those old photos of cities in Moscow, and there was nobody in it. What happened to the people? Where did they go? Where did they go? It wasn't like somebody told everybody in the city to go. Well, who knows? Maybe there was a lockdown. I doubt it, but there's nobody out. It was like empty. Now, anybody can explain that away that doesn't want to buy the frame of reference that it was an empty city first and then it was filled with people later on through an artificial means. It wasn't organic, I guess. But why even argue it? What's the point? If you weren't there, there is no way for you to substantiate whether or not it's true. Or you can just look at the picture and be like, okay, here's a picture. And you have a million different perspectives, and they're all relevant because nobody was there at that time. And that's what needs to happen with people understanding different perspectives and understanding why people have the different perspectives, the intention behind it. And then, of course, whatever your belief systems and what your intention is, then you adopt whatever perspective. It doesn't mean that your perspective is the most right. It just means that you have a valid perspective. And it means that it doesn't mean that everyone else shares the same one, and it doesn't mean that you ram it down someone's throat. And so until we can develop our own frame of reference and actually witness history and stay witnessing history through centuries, then you'll always buy somebody else's rendition of history or what you should do with your body today. And then right now people are self-imploding because they have bought the frame of reference that you should die someday and you should be heavily therapized on your way out. And maybe that's a frame of reference that needs to go. All right, bye.